So yesterday on Twitter, I had this bright idea to solicit ideas that people who might be more conservative, more Republican, Trump supporters, definitely don't come out of the left like I do. I solicited ideas for topics that they might like me to explore from the perspective of someone who was a Democrat for 20 years up until very recently. I recently became an independent, so I'm not a member of either party right now. And I wanted to talk about some different topics, political topics that might be kind of divisive, and offer the perspective of someone on the left. Now, I can only offer my perspective. Obviously, my point of view is not representative of every single person who is on the left, okay? I can only offer you my perspective. I will look at some other ideas in context to try to add different voices to it, but I'm only speaking for myself here, folks. I can only do what I can do. So I was pretty overwhelmed by the response. The original idea I had was that I was just gonna do a whole bunch of them in like one video, but the response, I've had over like 800 comments or something on it. So I'm going to be doing a series of videos on these different topics, and one that is just very low-hanging fruit, came up over and over and over again, is the topic of abortion. So in this video, I'm going to discuss my perspective on abortion and why I am pro-choice and why I think it should be safe, legal, and rare. So here are some of the questions that people were asking. The first one's from Sasha. By the way, Sasha is an awesome person. I've actually known her for a really long time. She is the founder of an amazing organization called Still I Run, which is an organization that works to overcome mental illness through running and the stigma around it. And I just think she is an incredible person. So I was really excited to hear her speak up. Sasha says, I'm an independent and was raised in a fiercely Christian and Republican household. One thing I grew up thinking is that all Democrats are baby killers because they believe in abortion. I obviously don't think that today, but I think it would be a great perception to explore. And Sasha's not alone in this. We also had this person with a cute picture of a dog that says, why do Democrats love animals but hate abortion? As a dog person myself, that got my attention. I also have this one from Monica. What about their overwhelming support for abortion? And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about why I'm pro-choice. And this is not a video to try to convince you to think like me. I'm simply trying to explain my particular perspective. But before we dig into that, listen, if you like my content, if you like what I'm trying to do by, just adding more reasonable voices to the political discussion or any of the other topics that I explore, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. You want to get notified when I post new content, which is pretty regularly right now because really, what else do I have to do? I'm locked in my house. But also, if you think you are subscribed to my channel and you subscribed in the past, just like Luis here did, just go ahead and double check for me. Luis left this comment on one of my videos yesterday. He said, what the? That's weird. I've been subscribed to your channel for about a month, but when I double checked, like you said, sure enough, I was no longer subscribed. I can confirm that I was subscribed to your channel and I never unsubscribe. I've heard of this sort of thing happening before, but it's never happened to any of my subscriptions before. At least not that I've noticed. YouTube is really up to some shady business. Luis, I'm not going to disagree with you there. So if you think you're subscribed to my channel, go ahead, double check. Better safe than sorry. And if you're not ready to subscribe yet, hey man, I get it. I'll do my best to win you over though with this video. All right, let's talk about abortion. So like I said, I am pro-choice. I have been pro-choice my entire life, and I go into it understanding that I'm pro-choice with limits. I do believe there are certainly some challenges with being pro-choice, and I'll probably discuss them in this video. But let's also look at abortion trends by party from Gallup, because I think it's important to acknowledge that not all Democrats are pro-choice. They're just not. It's not a huge percent of them, but look, 14% of people, at least in 2019, that are Democrats are not pro-choice. They are completely against it and think it should be illegal in all circumstances. But most Democrats have some sort of shades of gray. So the top response for Democrats is actually that 45% of people think that abortion should be legal under certain circumstances, and 39% of people think it should be legal in all circumstances, in any circumstances. Now, I'm probably part of the 45% because I believe that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. I do not believe abortion is something to celebrate. I do not believe abortion is something we should be rallying behind. I think that that's actually pretty disgusting. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But I do believe that women should be able to make a choice about what is going on with their bodies. Now, however, first and foremost, though, I believe that anyone any woman, frankly, has an obligation to protect themselves if they don't want to get pregnant. It is very, very easy to take simple, common sense precautions to protect yourself from getting pregnant. Listen, I remember back in college when I was 18, I went on birth control. I went to Planned Parenthood because I support Planned Parenthood. I still do to a certain extent today, but I went to Planned Parenthood. I got on birth control on their sliding payment plan, so it was affordable to me. I didn't make money in college. I had no money, but I figured out a way to make it work, and Planned Parenthood helped me with that. They gave me 3 options for birth control, and I chose one. And that was really all I needed. And every time I went into Planned Parenthood to pick up my pills, guess what I also picked up? A handful of free condoms that they had, because I did not want to have a child. I didn't want to get to the place where I needed to have an abortion. And I believe that everyone should be exercising that very personal responsibility to where if you don't want to have a kid, you can start off don't have sex. That's an option. Abstain from sex entirely. Or if you're not willing to abstain from sex, and believe me, listen, I'm not a prude about sex at all. I've had a lot of sex in my life, and regardless of what some of you think with my haircut and all this stuff, I've had sex with some of those beautiful men you've ever seen in your life. I didn't want to have any other kids though, and so I took precautions to make sure that that didn't happen. So this is not about being prudish in your behavior. Man, go to town. I don't really care. I do not care what you do in the bedroom. But if you don't want to have a kid, then get on birth control. There are tons of different varieties. Use condoms, practice common sense procedures so that you don't even need to get to the point of needing an abortion. Okay? There's all sorts of things you can do. And I believe strongly that people should be exercising that personal responsibility first. That said, sometimes accidents happen. And you can always get plan B if an accident happened. That's actually how I originally got on birth control in the first place. Is I was using condoms with my boyfriend, and one broke, and I freaked out and was like, I don't want to get pregnant. And then I went to Planned Parenthood. I got plan B, and that was my first step. And I never had a kid. So, and I've never, to full disclosure too, I've never been pregnant in my life. So this has never even been a question for me that I had to contend with. But I also do believe that if an accident does happen, if you wind up pregnant when you don't want to be, and that could be for a variety of reasons, maybe it's that you were assaulted, maybe it's that you just think you're too young and you're not ready for it. It could be any number of reasons. I do believe that in the first trimester, you should be able to have an abortion. I think it should be legal for the first trimester. And I understand, Carlin, what about the first day of the second trimester? I get it, man. But I think that we do need to draw the line somewhere. I do not believe that abortion should be legal throughout the entire pregnancy unless there is a medical reason for it. And if there is a medical reason for it, that your doctor says that this is the very best thing for you, this is the best thing given what's going on with the fetus or the child, I think that it should be legal with extreme medical exceptions, okay, after the first trimester. And because I know some people too who, and it's so sad. I think it's late-term abortion for me is one of those things that is incredibly sad, because the people that I know that have gone through something like that, they're people who, they wanted this kid. They loved this kid. They were so excited. They had their baby showers. They had their rooms ready to go. And then something went wrong. And they made a decision between themselves and their doctor that it was the best thing given the context. And it was every single person who I know who this has happened to, and it's not many, by the way, because this really doesn't happen all that often, but I do know people who this has happened to. It was one of the most heart-wrenching decisions of their lives. They did not want to make this decision. They loved that child. They didn't want to go through that, but they decided with their doctor that it was the best thing. Now, in those cases, I don't want the state to be the one to make that decision. I want that couple or that woman, if the father is not involved, to make that decision with their doctor, and for there to be exceptions in the law to allow for that. But do I think that abortion should be legal up until the very end? No, I don't, unless there is a really good medical reason for it, and then I think those exceptions should be carved out. I also think that they should be carved out in terms of if the woman has been assaulted, if it was not a consensual encounter. I cannot imagine carrying a child for any length of time for someone that it was not a consensual encounter. So I think there should be exceptions for that as well. All right, let's see what other questions people asked. This guy asked, will they claim abortion is healthcare and the government can't tell you what to do with your body while supporting forced vaccination? I mean, the way I think about this is vaccination is something that if I have an abortion, that doesn't impact the general public. However, with vaccination, and listen, I don't know that I really have a position on vaccination, to be honest. I think that getting vaccinated is just smart. I think that you should be vaccinated for where it makes sense. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any stretch. And I also think vaccination is about protecting the public. Listen, before all this coronavirus stuff, there were measles outbreaks going on. Why? There's no reason that there should be measles outbreaks because we can vaccinate against those. So I view that as more of it's about the general public rather than the individual. And so that would be why I would support vaccination over being completely just pro-life. I also want to say that there is a perception among the right, I believe, that just because you're pro-choice, you are pro-abortion. I would not call myself pro-abortion. I am not in favor of abortion. I don't think abortion is a good thing. I don't think abortion is something to be celebrated. But I believe that people should have the choice for a limited period of time, unless there is a medical exception to the situation. I believe it should be a choice. I am in favor of the choice. I am not necessarily in favor of the abortion. And I think that is an important distinction that often gets overlooked when you're having these discussions. All right, let's see what else. Brock says, the left refuses to have an honest talk about abortion. I accept and acknowledge that the left is concerned about women's rights. They will not accept that the right is concerned about the life of the baby and is not interested in controlling all women. So one of the things that I believe has gotten lost in the discussion is, and I think Brock is right about this, I think that the left, people who are very pro-choice, or even those people who are very pro-abortion, and again, I think that's disgusting, they look at the right as someone is this monolith thing that is trying to control women's bodies rather than valuing life from the moment of conception. And I think that is a really important distinction to make. One of the things that you hear all the time on the left is that the right cares about life up until the child is born. That's the perception. They care about life up until the time when the child is born, and then they just don't care anymore and all this stuff. And I also think there is something to be said for the fact that you can be pro-life on the right and then also pro-death penalty. Some of you have called me out for what you call a contradiction because I am anti-death penalty and pro-choice, right? Well, I can call you out for the same contradiction. You can't be I think you can be, but you, for some of you who are pro-life and also pro-death penalty, that also seems like a contradiction to me. But one of the things I will say is that when I went to CPAC a couple months ago, as someone who's more liberal going to CPAC and being in this kind of land of the unknown, one of the things that I was really happy to see was there's this one exhibitor at CPAC called Let Them Live, defending the defenseless. And I actually went up and talked to them, and the very first thing I said was, I'm pro-choice. And they said, oh, we are too. But we want to make sure that women who, if they want to continue their pregnancy, that they have the resources to do it. And one of the things that this charity does is they actually, if women, what they basically discovered is that most, like a really high percentage of abortions happen because women do not feel like they have the financial resources to sustain the pregnancy. And so it's a financial argument. And so what this organization does is it provides women with the means, with actual like dollars in their bank account to have their baby and take care of some of their necessities. And I was actually had a great conversation with Let Them Live, which I think it seems like they have a wonderful organization, and they're really doing their best to be able to support women who do want to have the child, that maybe don't feel like they have the financial support to do it. And so that to me was an eye-opening experience to have a conversation with the people that ran this charity, because it made me look at the right in a different way, where I said, okay, they do care about the life of the child after they're born, whereas before I was kind of in the camp of thinking that, you only care about it up until it's born and then you don't care about it anymore. And this really changed my point of view on that. Let's see, what other tweets do I have? When does the fetus have a right to life? So this person is talking about when should it be illegal? And again, my perspective on this is like first trimester, and after that, it should be only as a result of a medical necessity. And so that's my position on that. And again, I do understand that, Carlin, what about the first day of the second trimester? I get the argument, man, but I do believe that it should be legal. And one of the reasons I believe it should be legal too is because, listen, women who have the means, have the financial resources, they will always be able to have safe abortions, always. Whereas women who don't have the financial means, if it was made to be illegal, they would be putting themselves in jeopardy by having an abortion, by having it done illegally. And so I think it should be, again, safe, legal, and rare. Jillian asks how one life is too much to lose in one situation, and I'm sure that she's referring to the coronavirus, what we're in right now. An abortion is just fine. And again, I think that this is, I actually tend to agree. There was a great tweet yesterday with a protester who had a sign on it that had a picture of a mask that said, "My body, my choice." Oh my gosh, what contradictions I have seen from the left on this, because I have taken so much flack on Twitter from just saying, I'm not wearing a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I find it to be very uncomfortable. I find it to be very dehumanizing. I don't want to do it. And it should be my choice as a human being about what I wear on my body. And that was essentially what this protester was saying as well. And so I absolutely believe that the left demanding that everyone wear masks and getting very authoritarian about it, it is an absolute contradiction with this pro-choice philosophy. Whereas I am pro-choice with abortion, I'm also pro-choice with wearing a mask or what you put on you like something that you have on your body. I am pro-choice in both of those circumstances. And then we have this one from April. Why would they support up to birth abortions or even second trimester abortions when we know about babies in the womb? And why would they celebrate abortion like it's a badge of honor, so powerful in ending a pregnancy and a life? So what I would say to April is that I don't support abortions after the first trimester unless there is a medical reason to do it. And I actually don't know many Democrats who do. I like this shift. I don't know what happened. I felt like for years, I understood that Democrats were pro-choice within limits, but most of the people who I knew accepted those limits. And then I felt like I woke up and all of a sudden Democrats were for abortion at any point. And I was like, what the heck? And then I would see these videos of younger women celebrating their abortion and posting this video of like the pregnancy test, and then I have to make an appointment to go to the clinic to have an abortion, and filming every part. I was like, that to me is disgusting. And I think this goes to April's second point as well about why celebrate abortion. I think that abortion is sad. For me right now, this is a non-issue because like I've been married for almost 9 years. I'm not on birth control, but if I happen to get pregnant, like I'm having the kid. So this to me isn't a thing anymore. I would have absolutely if I was younger, like in my early 20s especially, if I had accidentally gotten pregnant, even with all the precautions I took, I absolutely would have gotten an abortion. It would have 100% happened. And I'm very blessed and lucky that that never was the case for me at all. But I can understand it then. But even back then, I can't imagine celebrating that. That would have actually been something I probably would have hidden away. I wouldn't have told people. I certainly wouldn't have posted on social media saying I'm having an abortion. I wouldn't have gone to a protest like pro-abortion. I saw it like one of the protests that happened, you know, before all the coronavirus stuff, where women were like, yeah, I've had 6 of them. I'm like, you're insane. What are you doing? Why are you using this as birth control when you could just actually get on any different form of birth control you want? You can use condoms, you can abstain. There's so many options before you get to the point of having not one, but multiple abortions. So I am completely not in favor of that at all. My position at the end of the day is that women should have the choice. Accidents do happen, and not everyone is ready to carry a pregnancy all the way through to have a kid. And you could say adoption is an option. And listen, man, I think that adoption is a beautiful option for people who are mentally prepared for it. But I don't know, like, that to me would be worse than having an abortion. Like, knowing that I have a child out there that is being raised by other people that I may never see again or may not know anything about, that to me would be an actual, like, a worst case scenario than having an abortion. But again, God bless people who do it. I think it is a beautiful gift that you're giving to any couple. Yeah. That's all I really have to say. So that's the view of just one former Democrat on abortion. And if you have any additional questions, go ahead, leave a comment on the video, and I will do my very best to answer them. Again, this is not a video that is meant to convince you of anything. I simply wanted to explain the perspective that I had so that we could engage in a civil and hopefully a little bit of a nuanced discussion on some of these more divisive topics.